Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Peak Growth Podcast. Today, I have with me Alex Bolotovsky, and we're going to discuss about a company that's very interesting and very niche called J Leaders. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks, Gabriel. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. So, can you give us a quick introduction about who you are and what have you done so far?
That question. My whole career has actually been about either building things from scratch or scaling things. So I graduated college and I went to work in Miami for a youth group, and I had to scale that up. We grew it from like roughly 60 people involved to 1,000 people involved in about 3.5 years. Won a bunch of awards, and I moved on and worked as a fundraiser for nonprofits and had to grow a fundraising program completely, basically from scratch. And I also got an MBA in focusing in nonprofit management, but it was a general business MBA as well from Kelley School of Business right around that same time. And then I left the nonprofit world and I worked in startups for the last 10 years of my life. I worked at a custom apparel company where I was responsible for several initiatives of growing the reach of the business. And then I worked for some other smaller startups. And then I ended up running a startup accelerator called Base, which was within a law firm called Ballard Spahr, which is a national AM100 law firm. And at that time I started that accelerator. We started from just being a local accelerator and we took it national. When I left, we were in 40 plus universities. So that was what I did immediately before taking this job as CEO of J Leaders, which I've been at now for like just around 3 months. So it's been an exciting journey and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting journey you have right there. So, can you tell us a bit about J Leaders? What do you guys do at J Leaders?
Sure, it's great. I won't read you back the mission statement, but what I will tell you is what we do is we aim to equip Jewish young adults with leadership skills and professional development skills so they can be successful in their careers. And we do it through a lens of both leadership skills, but also we take those leadership skills through a Jewish lens. So we use the 3,000 years of Jewish wisdom and we kind of marry it into leadership training and we deliver it to young adults around the country. That's what we do now, but we are scaling our efforts nationally, and I'm happy to chat about the vision when we get there.
So you mentioned that you joined J Leaders to become their CEO, right? So at what point was the company when you joined them?
Yeah. So the founder started the company a little over 4 years ago, and it was growing a little bit in the Bay Area of California. And the founder was ready to retire. This was his sunset project. So he was ready to retire and the board did a national search because they were interested in scaling the nonprofit nationally. So they found me, and after an 8-month interview process, here I am.
Right. And my next question is about your actions that you took with J Leaders, right? So I want to ask you if there was a turning point after you joined where things started to kind of take off.
Yeah, I think we're at the turning point now, if I'm being honest with you. I've only been at the role right around 3 months. I think one of the first things that any leader needs to do when they get into an organization is to take a really good audit of what is happening within the organization. What is it good at? What is it not so good at? And what are the things that are scalable? Sometimes even the best products are not the most scalable products. And when I say scalable, I mean like products that can reach a wide audience, are for wide consumption. The way they use resources makes sense. They can benefit from an economy of scale, etc. So even though you might have a really good product, it might not be the most scalable thing. You might have a different product that might be more scalable. So that, I think, for any leader, I think the first thing they should do is take note of what in your organization is that way and what is it good at. And then you have to look at the market as well and figure out, okay, how do those two things fit? Yeah.
I have an interesting question based on what you mentioned. So if we are talking about a startup, let's say, would you still try to go for the most scalable product market fit, or would you start with the low hanging fruit?
So I think they're one and I think they're two sides of the same coin. I think they're one and the same. I think low hanging fruit implies that it's something that can be scaled, or else it's not that low. You know, there's that really cheesy cliche analogy of like, would you rather have a whole apple or like a whole grape or a slice of a watermelon? Obviously, the answer is, you know, you want a slice of a watermelon that's bigger. So I think when it comes to startups, you got to figure out a startup cannot survive on a grape. It just cannot. You're not going to get investors. You're not going to get recurring revenue. You're not going to be able to enjoy economies of scale. And you might hang around for a year or two and then you're going to start fizzling. To me, when I'm talking about scale, it is about low hanging fruit of like, what are the things that are easy to scale? That is what I say is low hanging fruit. There are other things that might be scalable in, you know, hypothetically, possibly you could scale them, but it takes a lot more effort. So that's what I would say for a startup. Those things you keep to stage 2, right? So you start with the things that are easy to scale. That's your low hanging fruit. And then you move on to the more difficult things later on. And that's basically what my approach is at JLeaders. And I'll make it concrete for you. There are multiple programs that we offer. They're all leadership and professional development based programs. One of them is called the Academy program, and that is what our previous founder and what our board and the community focused on a lot. It's a really amazing program. It's for 25 people at a time. It's a 6-month, really intensive leadership development program, and it's great. And it is extremely difficult to scale something like that. When you're talking about 25 people, 6 months at a time, let's say you scale that 100-fold, right? Like 100 times over, you're still only reaching 2,500 people, right? Like that's not a lot of people. And this particular program is, you can't scale it 100 times. The most we could ever scale it maybe is, I don't know, 25 times. But we have another program, which is a mentorship program. And we were also doing it only locally and in person and etc. And it has really great methodology and we have our own proprietary algorithm for matching a mentor and a mentee. That program is extremely scalable because all we have to do is take it off of in-person meetings, make it a Zoom call, bring in a national pool of mentors, bring in a national pool of mentees, use all the other algorithms and trainings and resources that we have and scale. So that is what we're like starting to scale now. We're starting a national cohort, starts in November. We're getting really great traction already. There's communities all over the country that are really excited and are pushing our program forward, etc. So that's a success based on that system, right? And for now, Academy, the first program that I talked about, we're leaving it in the Bay Area. I'm not looking to scale it right now at all. It'll be like that for at least this year. And then maybe we'll reconsider opening a couple communities the following year. But it's an amazing product. It's just not where we are as a company is not the right time for us to scale that particular program. So I would say that. And then I think you have to have a broader vision. So we were a programming organization. And one of the things you asked me, this is going back to your question of like what I'm excited about that seemed to be taking some hold. One of the things that we're doing now is we're creating resources for the broader ecosystem in which we operate for other companies and other nonprofits to use our resources and our expertise to reach more Jewish young adults on their own. So we're now becoming a think tanky, thought leadership-y organization on top of being a programming organization. So that's another way that we are broadening our reach.
Okay, so who do you find is the most drawn out type of person for your coaching programs?
The most what kind of person?
Who's the most drawn to what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Gen Z is interesting, right? There's a lot of papers written about it, lots of research done. Gen Z's definition of leadership in general is different than what millennials have thought about success and what Gen X and boomers all thought about success. Gen Z is not necessarily looking for the corner office and a really big paycheck, et cetera. They're really looking for what's in the industry called now values aligned leadership. So they're looking for people and positions in which that they can live their work life in complete balance with their personal values. And I think what we're learning is that these Gen Z young professionals are really interested in our programming because that is what we're telling them is we're saying, hey, this is a program where you can explore your values, really identify what is important to you, and then we can figure out what might be some good fits and what might be some good next steps for your career. So those are the people that are drawn, and I think it is because we are positioning ourselves in the market, knowing our target market, knowing what their interests are or passions.
I know it's very important to be informed about your target audience, but I want to ask you if you have you been surprised by who ends up engaging with you?
Yes and no. I think we are getting a caliber of professional. I think what I'm surprised about is that the research is true in that Gen Z really cares about upskilling themselves differently than even my generation, which I'm a millennial. Even how differently than how I thought about it. I don't think as a 22-year-old or a 25-year-old, I was looking for opportunities to learn from people as much as an average Gen Z person is. So I'm impressed and surprised by the caliber of young professional that we're getting into our programs, because I think they're like cocky in a different way, right? Like I was cocky. I was thinking like, I have the answers. I don't need a mentor. I don't need a leadership program. I got this. I can figure this out, whatever. I think Gen Z is not feeling that way. I think they're cocky and differently in that I think they think that they might, deserve some things that maybe I didn't think of, but they aren't cocky in learning. They want to learn from people. So I think we're getting a higher caliber of individual than I thought we would be getting.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that they're more coachable.
Or at least they're looking for coaching more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's get back to Gen Z, right? So when you get Gen Z people inside of your programs, right? What part of it usually gets them leaning in?
It's a great question. And I'll go back to what I was saying before, is the values piece is really interesting to them. I think they obviously want to know, like, how do you become an engaging public speaker, right? Everybody that wants to be a successful professional wants to know the basic, let's say, skills to get ahead. But that's not what lights them up, or to use your term, that's not what they're leaning into. I think what they lean into is whenever we have conversations about values and how to live your values both in your personal life and professional life, and how do you identify organizations and positions that fit within your personal values. That's what I'm finding about Gen Z. And that is what I'm finding in our curriculum, is the things that hit the most are the things that really chat about value.
Okay. And do you focus your programs more around Gen Z, or are they fit for the other generations as well?
Yeah, I mean, our mission is about young Jewish adults, and our board is actually currently in discussion of defining exactly what young means. It's gone through some iterations. We were thinking maybe it's 22 to 40. There's some discussion about that being too big of a range. I tend to agree, because a young professional in there has different needs for leadership and professional development than a person in their mid 30s, right? A person in their mid 30s probably is in some kind of managerial position, is supervising some people. A person in their 20s likely is being supervised and does not have any kind of team. So the needs are different. So to answer your question, I think we're focusing more on the Gen Z piece, but a lot of the leadership skills we provide are relevant to most generations, but that's just not our focus. I'm a person that is extremely hyper-focused on our mission and very careful about the traps of scope creep. And I really want to make sure that we focus our effort. I heard from a friend of mine who's a CEO of another nonprofit. I asked him for some advice. And one of the things he told me was one of his board members has this piece of advice that's have a pointy point of view. And that's been my favorite piece of advice that I've gotten. And I really subscribe to that. I think that an organization is successful if you have a very sharpened understanding of what you are and what you're not.
Okay. So the what you are not part. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. We're not an organization that is interested in providing leadership skills for anyone that is above the age of 40. We're 100% not.
Why is that?
That's just not our mission. We're a nonprofit. Our mission is about young Jewish adults, and that's what we have to stick to. I think that we have limited resources and limited expertise, and different markets need different things, right? So I think it's kind of like, to use a not nonprofit example, there are appliance companies that create appliances for restaurants, right? They are really good at making appliances. We are very good at delivering leadership content. But those appliance companies that work for generally, those companies are not the companies that are installing a fridge and an oven in your personal home kitchen. Is it because they don't know how to build a refrigerator for a kitchen? No, but it is because they have a focus and an expertise in a market, and that is the one that they play in. So much in the same way, we have a focus and an expertise in young Jewish adults, and that's who we want to focus on. So that's one thing we're not. We're not a political organization. We're not interested in talking about politics. That's for multiple reasons. One is that we have a nonprofit status and we would lose our status if we become a political organization. Two is I think that if one of our missions is to build community, politics is one thing that can quickly break a community. And I can go ahead and keep going with why not politics, but I'll just keep it there. And I think what else we're not is that we're not an Orthodox Jewish organization. We're not a Reformed Jewish organization. These are all like branches of Judaism. We're just a Jewish organization generally, meaning that we are not focused on attracting a certain kind of Jew and or not focused on teaching them Judaism from a certain kind of perspective. We try to stay very general and universal. I could, saying what we're not is a great question. I appreciate it, and I think I could keep going for too long. So we'll just leave there.
I appreciate the insights. It's very interesting and it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. But I never heard it put it out like this, and it's a very unique insight. So now getting back to what yes. So when somebody decides to get involved with your community or coaching programs or any of the J Leaders products, right? What's usually happening in their life at that moment?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. Not that the rest of them weren't. So far, you've asked great questions in general.
Appreciate it.
I think what's happening are one of three things. One is they're extremely lost in where they want to go professionally, and they are looking for a way to figure out their next professional step. Two is they feel like they are ready for the next step in their career. Like they are focused. They know exactly where they want to go. They feel like promotion is right around the corner, and they just want to really make sure that they are ready for it and that they are getting that promotion faster than maybe they would have gotten it otherwise. That's two. And I think the third type of person is a person that is really okay with their career, feels satisfied in how things are going. They're just comfortable. But what they're missing is a community. And that's the third kind of person that comes to our programs, is because we do provide, some of our programs provide really good community on top of professional and leadership development.
Interesting. I'm especially interested in the first type of person. So are you experiencing this a lot with the first type of person? Because it is something I've been seeing, and even in my life, right? So I have a computer science degree, but I didn't end up doing that. At some point in my life, I realized that was not something I want to do for the next 40, 45, 50 years or however long. And I did feel a bit lost. Do you think it's a recent trend, or it's something that was happening, I don't know, 30 years ago as well?
I'll answer. Do you want the long or the short answer?
Let's go with the short one.
The short one. Great. So the short answer is I think that this is a trend that's been happening, but it keeps on getting more and more amplified. And I think one of the reasons that it's getting more and more amplified is that technology is moving so quickly that the world in which you graduated with a computer science degree is a very different world than somebody else is graduating into now. And it's moving so fast that when people are starting their college career or starting something, right, and they have an end in mind, by the time they get to that next step, the step looks completely different. And I think that is confusing people and stressing people out and making them feel lost.
Again, that's a very unique perspective. Usually people's opinion about this is just that the current educational system has a very, very big bridge to gap. But that's very interesting that you mentioned that the world is actually changing from the point where they begin to the point where they end. It's a completely different job market, maybe.
Yep. I mean, think about it. The people that were freshmen in college a year ago, who started freshman year in college a year ago, ChatGPT wasn't even around. they're going to graduate and chat AI will be in every spot, in every place, in the workplace, in every industry by the time they graduate. That is extremely different of a world that they are entering and exiting college in, you know?
Yeah. So, you know what I'm also interested to learn about J leaders is, okay, so somebody joins one of your programs, right? What steps do you take to try and make them stay connected as long as possible, or as long as it's beneficial for them?
That's great. So one of the things that we have tried is to build a community of people that go through our programs. I think we've had mixed success. So I'll answer the question of what we do now and what we're planning on doing. So what we do now is we try to make sure that they are in touch. We try to connect them with others in our program through Facebook groups, through WhatsApp groups, Slack channels, that kind of stuff. We try to make sure that through our mailing list, we are supporting them, knowing other opportunities to get involved, both with our programs and other programs in the community. Those are the things we're doing now. I think as we move national and as we scale nationally, we need to be way more serious about how to keep our members, we don't have a membership really, but how to keep our participants connected. And we are actually launching a platform on a service called Networked, which I highly recommend for anyone who's trying to build community. I don't work for them, just a customer, but it is a really great platform that we are going to utilize to be able to keep our community together. The way to think about it is kind of a cross between LinkedIn and Slack and like Event Tribe. So you can do events, you can have discussion boards, you can have just a way for members to be connected to each other, etc. And it's a very powerful platform that we're really excited to start utilizing to keep our community more connected.
Can you tell us about what's the most exciting opportunity you see on the horizon for J leaders?
Well, everything is an opportunity right now. You know, what's great is my predecessor, the founder of the organization, he did a nice proof of concept in the Bay Area. He proved that there's a gap. He developed great resources and curriculum. He proved out the program. And the big opportunity is as we grow nationally, we can really start using the scale of the organization to help benefit the participants. People are going to be able to be connected to more people, and that will help their careers and their professional development. That'll help them feel a part of a big community, etc. And we'll be able to reach a lot more young adults as well. So those are the things I'm excited about. I'm also excited to have our organization, to have J leaders be the experts in how do you engage Jewish young adults through leadership and professional development. And I'm excited for us to position ourselves that way and to play that important role in the broader Jewish community as well. So that's another exciting opportunity.
Okay, that's a very nice vision, and it's pretty big to be the one, right? So I have one last question for you that kind of ties into this, and the
Great.
question is, if you could wave a magic wand right now to make one thing easier, what would it be?
That's a great question. I'm in a nonprofit, which very similar to startups. Financing is very important, and cash flow and runway. So I would say that being able to have access to smart money, and the way I would explain smart money in a nonprofit sense is likening it to a startup. When you're a startup, we always talk about how you want to take money from investors that believe in your vision and that will serve as good thought partners, not get in your way, but partner with you where you want to go. They'll pour gasoline on your vision, etc. So in a similar way, the nonprofit works a similar way. Those are the kind of donors I'm looking for, are people who want to invest in us because they believe in us. So if I could wave a magic wand, it would be for it to be easier for me to meet those people. Because once I meet them, I think it's pretty easy for me to tell them the vision, because the vision is exciting and important. But opening that door, much like it is for startups, is pretty difficult.
Sides. I really, really enjoyed this podcast. A lot of the ways you answered questions were very unique compared to other people I interviewed, and especially this last one. That's very, very nice thing to make easier.
What do people say?
Usually, I don't know, get more exposure, make it easier for people to understand what you do, and all kind of things, you know. But I never heard anyone saying about making it easier to get financing, which would make pretty much everything else easier, right?
Yep.
Okay,
I really enjoyed our conversation. You asked great questions and kept the thing going really well.
amazing.
You're doing awesome. You don't have to go and listen to the episodes I've missed.
Appreciate you putting the time into this. And for everyone watching this, I will leave a link below in the description to J Leaders. Go check them out. They are doing some amazing work. And as you heard from Alex, the vision is great. I recommend you follow them. And again, thank you, Alex, for taking the time, and see you next time.
Great. Thanks, Gabe.